Before we dive into today's episode, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsor, PensionBee. Between juggling work, parenting, the school run, and figuring out what's for dinner, sorting out your pension is probably at the very bottom of your list. But here's the thing. Future you deserves a bit of love too. That's where PensionBee comes in. They're a leading online pension provider, making it easier for people, especially single parents like us, to feel confident about saving for retirement. Whether you're employed, self-employed, or somewhere in between, they make it simple to combine old pensions into one easy to manage plan. Make flexible contributions in a few clicks and choose a plan that aligns with your values. You can manage it all from their easy to use app, which honestly feels like a little win in your day. And we know single parents are experts at celebrating the little wins. So, if you've got old pensions floating around in the ether, or you've just never got round to opening one, this is your sign. Head to pensionbee.com/UK or download the app to get started. It only takes a few minutes, and trust me, future you will thank you for it. Just remember, as with all investments, your capital is at risk. Thanks again to PensionBee for supporting this episode. Hi, I'm Zoe Desmond, the founder of Frollo, the award-winning app for single parents that features both community and dating modes. And I'm also co-author, along with my wonderful friend Rebecca Cox, that I made through Frollo, of the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Frollo podcast. Today I'm joined by Leanne Hutchinson, single mom, coach, and host of Life After +1. Leanne left a toxic relationship with nothing but a suitcase and her daughter, and has spent the last decade rebuilding her life from the ground up. She now supports other single parents navigating the tough stuff, co-parenting, confidence, dating again, and figuring things out when life feels too much. Leanne, I am so looking forward to this conversation, and thank you for joining me to have this chat on the Frollo podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you.
I'm really excited, and it sounds like you are a woman with a story to tell. So maybe we can go back a bit and talk about how it is that you found yourself becoming a parent and then a single parent. What were your circumstances around that time?
Well, how I became a single parent, I was in an extremely toxic relationship. And it's probably a story that so many have heard. He was, and I hate using this word, it gets thrown out so much, narcissist. But it was a very extreme narcissist. And there was a lot of back and forth, breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together. You know, that toxic cycle. You think it's going to get better. You think things are going to change, and it doesn't happen. And there was a moment in that relationship where it was just my breaking point. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm out. And I tried to make that work for so long because my mum was also a single mum, and I saw how tough she did it. And I always said to myself, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work because I saw how hard my mum did it. I'm not doing that too. And I don't want to put my daughter through those struggles. And then you get to a point where you realize, I can't live like this. I deserve so much more. And there was a breaking point for me. And like you just said, I literally just walked out with a suitcase of clothes, my daughter, and I rebuilt my life from there. I was lucky enough to have some family in my area, so I moved back in with my dad for a short period of time to get back on my feet. And what I struggled with most was the lack of support. Sadly, just with my breakup, I had a lot of friends kind of jump onto his bandwagon. They chose to believe his side of the story, which was really hurtful. Like at that time, you need your friends, you need your support. And there just wasn't enough support out there. And in that moment when I was going through that, I was just thinking to myself, when I get through this, I want to be able to help people and be there to support people. And that's where I am now. So I'm on the other side. I've got through it. I've done coaching. I've studied coaching. I've done a lot of work behind the scenes on myself. And I'm just at a place now where I'm just really passionate about what I do to really empower single parents and make them just realize that it's not a bad place to be. Being a single parent is nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to hide. It's nothing you need to kind of escape from and quickly get a new partner because you don't want to be single. It's a place you can really be empowered at. It is really empowering being a single parent. And that's what I love about my job, just helping people to really find that good in it and really make the most of that time when you're single. Because even though I'm all for people finding love again and finding their partner and their plus one, I'm all for making them make the most of this time. Mm-hmm. Really appreciate this part of their journey being a single parent.
Absolutely. And wow, there's so much that I want to go into and learn more about, but it just struck me sharing your background and kind of imagining how tough that must have been, being in such an abusive relationship and, with a proper narcissist. And I understand what you mean, that term is kind of thrown around a lot these days, which kind of actually kind of undermines the people who really truly are dealing and have dealt with narcissists and have been a victim of that kind of abuse and coercive control and everything that comes with it. And it's so incredibly damaging. And it's so, and you pointed out, even that there were people in your life who also didn't maybe because, and that's the brutal thing, I think, about, narcissistic abuse is there's so much gaslighting, there's so much creating this illusion. And I'm going to take a guess that you were painted as a mental crazy person.
Oh, I was a crazy ex, and I probably still am. Yep.
Yeah. So I know the script. I know the script well. So I just really admire, and I want to delve more into your story, but to start off there and to have the strength to leave with your daughter in a suitcase and to be where you are doing this work that you're doing and putting some purpose and meaning behind it. How amazing is that? And how amazing for the people that are experiencing what you experienced back then to be able to feel really seen and heard by somebody who's been there. That's really valuable, really, really valuable, especially because you know yourself, I'm sure, how lonely and isolating it is to be that person on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse. So yeah, for just going straight to the straight in with that, because that's what jumps out at me. And how old was your daughter when you left?
She was the final leaving time. She was just after. It was just after her first birthday.
Okay, right, interesting. Yeah, I also broke up with my son's dad just after his first birthday as well. So yeah, it's an interesting time to be navigating life as a single parent. So how did you get from that point to picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and doing this work that you're doing? What were your healing steps?
Well, I think, that's just it. As a single parent, you can't just say, well, I can't do this. You've got to keep going. You've got your kids. Well, I've just got the one, but there are parents out there that have got multiple. You can't just say, I give up. You've got to keep going for them, mentally and financially, really, don't you? And the biggest steps for me with healing was a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts and all different types of ones, whether it's like I listen to a lot of manifestation style podcasts, a lot of healing, a lot of business podcasts, and a lot of motivational ones as well. Listen to a lot of that, a lot of reading. I did a lot of meditation, some sound healing sessions, breath work. I just did a lot of time for me and really just worked on me try to become a better version of myself for me and for my daughter, really. And it's about also just realizing that you can be a better person and you can do so much more with your life. That breakup and becoming a single parent is not the end of your story. And for many, when they actually can step back and realize that it's actually the start of something better, which sounds very cliche and, you know, people probably say that, but it is. It really is. If you can learn to really step back and focus on everything and just really process what you've been through, you can actually, when you're in the right frame of mind, you can really take it somewhere so much more powerful if you really learn to take something away from what you've been through pretty much. You've got to learn and look back on, okay, you know, they might have not been the best person, but what did you learn about yourself through that?
Yeah.
And it's things like, okay, maybe I need to learn to be more confident. Maybe I need to learn to communicate better in relationships. Maybe I need to learn to set boundaries and not ignore the red flags. There's always something you can take away from that. And that's the biggest thing.
Oh, I think that is so profound, actually, kind of highlighting that. I really do, because I really, that really resonates for my own experience. All of the shite that I've had to navigate, you know, I do feel that there has been a higher meaning to it. There's been something in me, as you say, whether it's boundaries or self-worth or, you know, communication, sort of learning that I truly am okay on my own, and that I don't need to, you know, I don't need another half to complete that. You know, there's so many things that have been part of me becoming whole, the wholest version of myself. So I think that's a really profound, you know, thing to highlight. What for you personally, what are the things for you that you feel this whole experience has helped shape in you? The following is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp. I want to talk about mental health for a minute. Being a single parent comes with its highs and lows, and as single parents, it's so important to make sure we look after ourselves in the process. That's why I'm excited to introduce you to BetterHelp, the online therapy service that's here to support you every step of the way. With BetterHelp, you can connect with registered therapists from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or just need someone to talk to, they're here to help. Plus, as a Frollo member, you get an exclusive 25% off your first month. Just visit betterhelp.com/Frollo. That's betterhelp.com/Frollo.
I would say back then, this was probably, I broke up with him about 11 years ago. And I was very much like, I would crave the attention. No, I don't want to let, you know, you think that if the relationship's ending, you're failing and, you know, there's something wrong with you or you're not good enough. And it's always that need to be accepted, need to be wanted and appreciated. And I think I kept making that work because that was like my need to just, you know, be recognized and be loved. But that wasn't the right place for it. That I wasn't getting that right kind of love. And I think that's the biggest thing you learn, that you don't have to stay in somewhere that's not right for you just to feel loved and accepted, because that wasn't love and that wasn't acceptance. And when you're like that, when you're in that situation, you quite often let your boundaries slide. And quite often you don't have any. You just let them get away with whatever they want because you want to keep that relationship going. You cling on to it so tightly, hoping to make it work. And you're just letting go of all your boundaries, ignoring all those red flags.
I have been there. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, just knowing that you can stand your ground, and knowing that if someone says no or doesn't like what you're after in a relationship, then that's okay. You're not going to be everyone's perfect match. So forcing yourself or forcing someone to like you is not the right way to go about it. You need to let someone appreciate you for who you are and not just force yourself to, or try cling on to a relationship for the wrong reasons. Someone will love you for who you are. And even if you have boundaries or not, and I think that's a big thing. People are scared to set boundaries because it might come across as being confrontational or being nasty or mean, but you can set boundaries without being nasty and without being confrontational, just saying, well, no, I don't accept that. But that's definitely, one of the biggest things, knowing what you're willing to accept and what you're not.
Yeah, definitely. And do you co-parent with your daughter's dad, or is he, and how? I can imagine that I just know from, my experience with single parents on the whole, that co-parenting with a narcissist is challenging, can be challenging at the best of times. And I'm wondering how your experience has been.
Yeah. Well, this is one thing I talk about. I actually did a recent episode on this, that you can be in the best headspace. You could have done all the healing in the world and know exactly the right things and the wrong things to do. But if you're co-parenting with someone who's just not on the same page as you and is just high conflict and not willing to make it work, it is hard. I feel like sometimes that there's that image that, well, if you're a single parent coach, you should have a perfect co-parenting relationship. But you can't make that work if someone's not willing to meet you halfway. And unfortunately, it's never been the best co-parenting relationship for me because, like I just said, he is quite high conflict and it's never easy. It's never about cooperating. And unfortunately, it's never best about what's best for our daughter. It's, again, like it's that whole narcissistic thing of, all about the ego and control and games.
Yeah.
It's, there's now minimal contact. I have no drama or issues with it now. I know, like, I've stepped back and the contact is very minimal. When it is, it's just about my daughter. But there used to be a period where he'd try and engage about things in my personal life. If I was dating someone, he'd try and get as much information as possible. And then if that relationship ended, like, he would thrive on that. So you can't keep a man. You can't keep a man, can you? It was all just ways to try and bring me down. It's like, you know what, let's just keep it about our daughter, and it's so unfortunately, I'd love to say with what I do that I have a great co-parenting relationship, but it's civil and it's amicable as it can be. But I would love, for my daughter's sake, if we could cooperate and get along as co-parents should. But unfortunately, you can't choose how someone else is going to behave.
Exactly. I completely get that. And it kind of takes two to tango, in the sense that for it to work as well, for it to really fully be functional and, work, because only one person can keep the side of their street clean. But ideally, two people would be keeping the street clean for the child. And so would you call it more parallel parenting that you're doing? Yeah.
100%. There's, I tried, I should say. And it's best now, just like I said, we just keep it very minimal. And most of it, and my daughter's now at an age where she's got her own phone. So if there's any times that or anything that she wants, he can contact her directly. But there's no need for any drama anymore because, like, it's just very there's not much for us to really communicate about anymore. So
do you think that the older your daughter has become, the easier it has become, or the less, maybe easier is the wrong word, but less challenging?
I do, but on the flip side of that, I feel like now she's copping that pressure.
So you feel that you feel that she is kind of
caught in the middle. Well, not so much caught in the middle. I feel like he takes advantage of that a little bit, that knowing that he's not coming through me, he can go through her. And I feel like there's questions and things being asked of her that should come through me, not through her. For example, I'll give you one that's happening right now that we're going through. He wants to take her overseas. Her passport's expired, and he's telling her to tell me to sort things out. I'm like, that's not stuff he should be talking to her about. He needs.
No, I know. Well,
So those are kinds of examples that I'm referring to, and I feel bad for her and that she's stuck in the middle of this. And it's like, that's why I said to her, don't respond if you don't want to.
it's so challenging. It's so challenging when it's just like, let the child be the child and let them not be caught in the middle of this, because it's so unfair, isn't it? And again, in that co-parenting relationship, it's so upsetting for the parent that is so able to kind of resist doing that to the child and keep the child kind of safe from being exposed to those kind of conversations or dynamics or figuring stuff out. And it's really hard when the other parent can't honor that. It's really, really difficult.
And it's sad, and it really just shows that their priority is not the child, not the kids. Because to me, the way I look at it, if he was putting her best interest first, he would be straight away, okay, I need to get this sorted. I'll work it out with the mum, or I'll go work it out on my own. It's not, and I think it's really messing with her head a little bit. It's putting pressure on her that she doesn't need that. No kid needs that. And and I think this is a time where I do need to step in, but I try to step back as much as possible, not because I don't want to, I don't, it's just more so it doesn't achieve anything when I communicate with them, unfortunately. And so for me, it's very easy to just keep it very black and white. No, yes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the grey rocking, isn't it?
So I know that if I'd messaged him and said, you can't do that, it wouldn't achieve anything.
I think a lot of people with narcissistic tendencies in the co-parenting dynamic would actually probably thrive on that, because it's like, oh, great, I've pushed a button. It's working.
Yep. And that's just it. Like, I feel like that message to her was a way to get a reaction from me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I perceived it, which some people may think, oh, that's stupid. Why would he do that? But when you're co-parenting with a narcissist, you'd get it.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it. And I get that it's really challenging, living in a world where you have to think, do people question me? Are they going to, because you're so used to being gaslit. So it's really, really, it's really challenging.
Yeah, so I remember when I first broke up with him and I was telling some friends a few things about what happened. And I actually stood back and I thought, wow, they're not even going to believe this. What I was saying, it just sounded, after hearing myself say it, I'm like, this sounds so stupid that they're not going to believe it, because that's what you go through. You go through the most insane situations where when you say that out aloud, you're like, wow, did I actually go through that? Was that real?
I know, because I think it can sound like you're almost, over embellishing things, or, kind of trying to position things as a certain way. But I think it's really important to talk about this as we are, because I know for sure that so many listeners listening to this episode will be like, that is exactly what it's like. There are so many people in the Frollo community who experience this. There's a group chat on the Frollo community app called Coping with Narcissists, and it's one of the most active group chats on the app. Any content we do around narcissism, any blog posts are all some of the highest, or any Instagram, they're our highest performing.
Same. Yep. Whenever I do a reel, it's always the ones on narcissism.
So that kind of that goes to show that you're not alone, and anyone listening to this who's experiencing it is also not alone. And just do you think that we live in a world that is changing in relation to people kind of having a better awareness for narcissism tactics and coercive control in parenting and co-parenting? Do you think that there's hope?
It's funny. I'm actually reading a book on narcissism as we speak, and it's saying that how what we're going through as a society with social media and things, that it's actually becoming worse. Like there's actually people are just so, like when kids are just so bubble wrapped and let to do any, like in these days you don't see parents just yell at kids and discipline them as much. It's just, parents are just a lot more, let them do what they want. And like it's funny, like this book was saying, is that creating narcissism when kids are going to grow up and think that they can just get away with anything? So it's kind of like, from one, it's like you're getting more awareness of it where people know what's happening. But on the flip side of that, you're also getting a kind of a whole new different dynamic where people are actually raising kids that grow up to be narcissistic, with these narcissistic behaviors, and they take that into their adult life. And that's where these quite often stem from, where, it's a personality disorder, but it was a really interesting read, where just how things happen. Like when these days you might go out to a restaurant and see a kid running around and parents might not do anything, where maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe even more, it'd be, you sit down.
The sentence I remember is kids should be seen and not heard. That's what I was told during my childhood.
Yes. We're from the same era, obviously, but yes, that's what I was told. Kids are seen and not heard, and you don't put elbows on the table, all that kind of stuff. And it's very different these days, isn't it? And I'm not saying what's creating narcissism, and that's not what the book's saying, but they're saying, is that whole different style of parenting where people are coming in now and just letting kids get away with everything? Is this how it starts, and is this creating more of that narcissistic mentality as people grow up?
Well, that is really, really interesting, and something that I feel duty as a mother to be aware of. And I think it is interesting what you're saying around the social media and everyone and the filters and the selfies and all the rest. So yeah. And Leanne, I'd love to talk about your work and how you ended up getting into this great work that you're doing, and how is it that people work with you, and what does that look like?
I didn't get straight into this from when I first broke up. It was a bit of a lengthy journey. I actually started my own business when I first became a single parent. My background first was in hospitality. I'd always worked in the hospitality industry. So leaving my daughter's father, I actually started my own party hire business from scratch. I built it with absolutely nothing, no financial.
Amazing.
Nothing. I just slowly bought stock and built it on my own, grew it through social media. And I sold that off in 2023. And every day I was there working, and I'd always listen to my podcasts. And then eventually I just got to a point where I just lost the passion for it. And I knew I'd always wanted to do something with single parents. And I started to have a lot of things happening that were just, I felt like the universe was pushing me in this other direction. All these things just kept happening. I'm like, this is just not meant to be. And then I just did this online podcast course just to learn about how to do it. I'd had a background in coaching. I'd already studied a bit of coaching, I also did a separate component in divorce coaching, and then sold the business. And then not long after that, I started the podcast, and pretty much it just kind of, fell into place really, which is great.
That's amazing.
I love it. I'm so glad I did it. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how it's happened, because like I mentioned to you earlier, it was something I thought about doing when I first became a single parent, because I had no support, and I had no family in my area where I was living. And then I never really thought about it again until when I was in this my other business, and all these things started happening. I'm like, no, you know what? I think this is my time. I need to go into this again. I need to start looking into this idea. And then it all just kind of fell into place.
When people, if say, for instance, if somebody is listening to this episode and thinks, okay, Leanne has, absolutely hit the nail on the head. I feel like I resonate with so much of what she's been through, and I'm interested in knowing what working with her looks like. What would you say to that person? How do they connect with you? What's the process? What can they expect to get out of it?
Yep. Well, I do all my coaching online. So I do it all by Zoom. It's all, one-on-one online sessions, because I find that's easier, just so I can connect with people everywhere. And that was always my goal. I didn't want to just help people in that small little area that I am. I want to connect with people everywhere who resonates with me and aligns with my kind of work. And so I have a free little intro chat that I offer to anyone that wants to work with me, just to see if I'm someone that they want to work with more. They feel like this is something they're going to get something out of. And we just have a chat, see where they're at, see what they're struggling with. Quite often it's things like struggling to accept the breakup, struggling with the loneliness when the kids are at the other parent's house, just accepting the fact that they're now a single parent. They're, struggling to process that idea. And we just look at what's going on, what's happening, how we can reframe that situation, how we can make things work so things can be a bit more positive in their world, and just really flip the script on what's not working and make it more of a positive for them, so they can start to enjoy that process more.
Amazing. Really. That's absolutely fantastic and so incredibly valuable. And what, before we wrap up, any tips on dating as a single parent when someone is kind of feels like they're at that stage? And I know you said at the beginning of our conversation that, it's an important thing not to try and like skip over the hard part and, get straight to it's going to be easier to just, and that's actually from my own experience, it's really what I was very mindful of when I first became a single parent. I was like, I do not want to stick a Band-Aid on this situation by trying to just take the pain away by getting into another relationship. I want to prove to myself that I'm okay on my own. And I think that was such a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's such an important anchor then to have that. But when someone is ready to date again as a single parent, any kind of tips or guidance, or how anything you help single parents sort of, in terms of feeling confident again, in terms of any of the, especially for those coming out of abusive relationships, and how that might have impacted their self-esteem?
Yeah. Well, first of all, good on you for doing that, because not many people do that when they go through a breakup. As soon as you go through a breakup, most people are in the headspace of, I need to make myself feel better. I need another partner. So very few people would come out of a breakup and think, actually, no, I'm going to stop. So good on you for actually recognizing that, and taking that time. But also just some of the biggest tips I'd say is, first of all, just that, allow yourself time to process everything. You don't have to rush into the dating world. There is no timeline. There's no expiry date on when you need to have a partner. Take your time with it. It's okay. Have fun with it. So many people take it so seriously. Have fun with it. It can be fun. And, not everyone is going to be your match. And, that's another point. Don't take it personally when someone is not. You're not meant to be everyone's match. Just like in life, you're not going to be everyone's friend, and you're not going to be everyone's best friend. And that's okay. You're not a failure, or there's nothing wrong with you because you're not matching with everyone. You don't want to match with everyone. So don't take it personally if someone doesn't, want to continue it. Have fun with the process, and, don't treat it like it's an interview. Just be casual, be yourself. And if you're dating just to make yourself feel better, you're dating for the wrong reasons. You want to date when you're really at a place where you're happy with where you're at in life, and someone can just come in and just blend in nicely with your world. You don't want someone to come in just to help you with the bills, or to help you because your life is hard and it's chaos. You want someone to come in because you're happy with where you're at, and that partner will just finish it all off for you.
Absolutely.
And when you get to that place, that's when you're not forcing someone to stay, because if they're not the right person and they don't stay, you're okay. You can accept it much easier because okay, that's fine. If you don't say I'm happy on my own either way. So, when you are in that better headspace of where you're at and accepting of being single, you're not forcing relationships for all the wrong reasons.
It's so true. Honestly, I've said this a few times before since becoming a single parent, and I really stand by it. I mean, my standards have never been so high, which is great, and I mean that in a way of, not looking for, all of these unrealistic boxes to be ticked, but just in terms of, I have really done the work and I'm happy. I'm, and I feel in a really, really great place in my life. So it's really empowering to feel like, then anything else that comes in on top of this has to be a bonus. Yeah, has to be a bonus. There's nothing to fix. So, and final question, Leanne, is if you are looking back on that woman who was with her baby daughter in an abusive relationship, feeling gaslit, clinging on, trying to make it work. And if you if you could see into the future and see where you are now, what would that past version of yourself think?
She was a very different version. She was probably a lot more insecure. Didn't have the self-worth or the confidence. She probably very shocked. And I also kind of going off topic a little bit, but I say this kind of a bit on my podcast. I speak about it, but I used to be someone that was very shy, wouldn't speak up. Any group settings, I'd be always the one that hid in the back. And I feel like the process of being a single parent has kind of made me come out of my shell a lot more, because you realize you've got to stand on your own 2 feet. No one's coming to save you. You've got to save yourself. And that's just one thing. Like, I think going back there, that girl looking at me now, she'd probably look at me and go, wow, you did it. Good on you.
I'm like, have no doubt she would, because look, it's so impressive. It's really impressive. And I'm just really grateful for you to share your story, which I really think is so inspiring to anyone else who might be early on in their part of a similar journey. I think it's so important to give people kind of, that feeling of hope and encouragement and strength. So yeah, Leanne, thank you so much for speaking with me today, all the way from Australia, the other side of the world, which I cannot believe, as we said before we started, that we're having a heat wave in here in the UK, and you're with a blanket around you in Australia. It's supposed to be the other way around.
And they're talking about cyclone winds here tonight and everything.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, Leanne, where can people find you if they're looking to connect?
Yes, so if you want to connect with me, lifeafterplus1.com is my website. I've got links to everything there, my coaching, ebooks, podcasts, everything is there. So also on Instagram at lifeafterplus1. Come over and say hi.
Fantastic. Well, Leanne, thanks again for sharing your story, and excited to stay connected.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, then I have one small favour to ask. Please can you take a minute to subscribe to the Frollo podcast and give us a rating and review? This really helps other single parents who might benefit from it find us. The Frollo app, which is fully user verified for user safety, is available on the Google Play Store and the App Store, and you can find out more info and download links at www.frollo.com, or follow us on Instagram at FrolloApp. And you can purchase your copy of our book, How to Be a Happy Single Parent, at all the major book retailers. Until next time, have a great week.